Okay, picture this. You're in a hospital. Alarms are going off, a patient's vitals are dropping fast. It's a high stakes moment. Then a nurse steps in, acts with total precision, and stabilizes the patient. Now, that incredible response, that's not magic, it's knowledge. But have you ever wondered where that life saving knowledge actually comes from? Well, it turns out there are five key sources that build the very foundation of nursing practice.
So that's the big question we're going to tackle today. You might think it all just comes from a textbook, but honestly, providing amazing patient care requires this incredible range of skills that are pulled from a surprising number of places.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to look at five key sources. I want you to think of it like we're climbing a ladder of evidence, starting from the most informal, foundational stuff and working our way all the way up to the absolute gold standard, scientific research.
Right, so before we start climbing that ladder, it's really important to get this one thing straight. Nursing knowledge isn't just one thing. It's actually this fascinating blend of formal textbook science and that kind of hard-won wisdom you can only get from real experience at the bedside.
And this mix, this integration of all these different ways of knowing, well, that creates the foundation for everything a nurse does. It's what informs their clinical reasoning, what they do for their patients, and at the end of the day, it's what leads to better outcomes for all of us. Let's start at the very bottom of our ladder with two sources that have been around forever: tradition and authority. For generations, I mean long before modern scientific research, these two were the bedrock of nursing. First up, tradition. This is all about the practices that get passed down from senior nurses to the newer ones. Think of it as the unwritten rules or those time-tested techniques, like a very specific way to position a pillow to help a patient breathe easier, that you just learn by watching and doing. And right alongside tradition, you've got authority. This is the knowledge that comes from trusted experts. We're talking about seasoned practitioners, doctors, or the official protocols published by big healthcare organizations. It's how you get quick access to established guidelines. So, what's really the difference? Well, tradition is often that unspoken, this is how we've always done it kind of knowledge. Authority is a bit more explicit. It's what the textbook says or what the official protocol dictates. But here's the kicker for both of them. They can't just be accepted blindly. They have to be constantly checked against new emerging evidence. All right, let's climb up to the next rung on our ladder. This is where nurses learn not from a book or a mentor, but directly from their own hands-on work. This is all about learning by doing. Personal experience is just incredibly powerful. It's where a nurse takes all that textbook theory and sees how it works in the real world. It shapes their instincts and their clinical expertise. But, and this is a big but, it has a major limitation. Just one person's experience might not be scientifically sound, and it might not apply to everybody else. And then you have good old trial and error. It's a classic way to solve problems, right? You just try different things until you find something that works. Now, while this can definitely lead to some creative solutions, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It can be slow, and in medicine, it can carry real risks for patients. So it has to be used with extreme caution. Let's use a real-world example. Say a nurse is trying to manage a patient's pain. First, they might try one strategy and then carefully observe the patient's response. If that's not working, they'll adjust their approach, maybe try something else, and just repeat that cycle until they find the most effective solution for that one individual patient. We've now arrived at the very top of our ladder. This is the big one. We're talking about the most reliable, the most systematic way to gain knowledge, the scientific method. This is the true foundation of modern, evidence-based practice. So, unlike all those informal sources we just talked about, the scientific method is a formal, structured process. It's what allows nurses to move beyond just opinion or personal observation to really rigorously test their assumptions, verify facts, and generate evidence that you can truly rely on. This is where we leave intuition and guesswork behind. We're no longer talking about what feels right or what's always been done. The scientific method demands empirical data, hard evidence that you can actually measure. It relies on objective observation and systematic checks to generate knowledge that isn't just one person's opinion, but a finding that can be tested and proven by others. So, what exactly makes this method the gold standard? Well, it comes down to a few key things. It's empirical, which means it's based on evidence you can see and measure. It's systematic. It follows a very clear, disciplined process. It's replicable, so other scientists can do the same study and check the results. And it's objective, meaning it does its best to be totally free from personal bias.
Okay, so how does all of this come together for a nurse working today? Well, the modern nurse doesn't just pick one source from our ladder. Instead, they integrate all of them into what you could call a sophisticated professional toolkit. A truly effective nurse uses their personal experience to spot a problem. They might draw on authority and tradition for the established way to handle it. But, and here's the crucial part, they ultimately check their approach against the best available scientific evidence. It's this beautiful blend of art and science that ensures the best possible outcomes for patients. And here it is, the key takeaway. All 5 of our sources in one handy table. You can see how each one plays a role, but you can also see its limits. Tradition can become outdated. Authority can sometimes stifle new ideas. Personal experience can be biased. And trial and error, well, it can be risky. And that's exactly why the scientific method is so absolutely essential. It gives us the reliable, validated evidence we need to guide and check all the other ways of knowing. So we've climbed the whole ladder of knowledge, from tradition all the way up to scientific evidence. But this whole journey leaves us with a really fascinating question. As powerful new tools like AI and data science start entering our hospitals, are we about to add a 6th source of knowledge? What do you think is the next rung on the ladder?